Hi, and welcome into a Mimi the Movie Screen Scene interview spotlight. This is Thomas Manning, and we have a pair of special guests on the show today, Corbin Bernsen and Maggie Lawson. They've known each other for many years, of course, having worked together on Psych, which ran for 8 seasons. But as they talk about in this conversation, they didn't share many scenes together in that show, but always got along so well and wanted to connect on another project. And that's what we have here with the pilot episode of Woodstockers, which is what hopefully will kick off a full television series in the coming years. Corbin and Maggie both star in Woodstockers as a father and daughter, and the pilot episode is directed by Corbin's real life son, Oliver Bernsen. You'll also see familiar faces in Woodstockers like Stephen Tobolowsky and Oscar nominee Barbara Hershey. The pilot episode has been on the festival circuit and played earlier this year at South by Southwest. It was truly a joy to talk with Corbin and Maggie about this first episode of Woodstockers and also where they hope to take it in the future. Thank you all for watching and listening. Hope you all enjoy the conversation with Corbin Bernsen and Maggie Lawson about Woodstockers. Some Corbin, Maggie, it's great to meet you all. Thank you for your time.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be chatting with y'all. And, I want to jump right into it, knowing that you've known each other and worked together for many years. I think the first season of Psych was back in 2006.
That make
So,
it 20 years.
yeah, that's right. So,
Yes.
I'd love to throw the first question out to the both of you. How has your creative relationship with each other evolved over the years, and why do you think that you work so well together?
Well, I'll say this. We didn't really have any involvement during psych really at all. I wasn't even kind of part of the circle, you know? Um, but
Except airplane rides and very deep conversations.
and very deep. But I always let Maggie know I thought she was special, beyond what we were doing. There's something I connected with. And as I got to know her more and learn a little bit about her story, maybe that's what I saw when I look at her. And I always knew there was something, there was always something, and I was always trying to do. And I feel the same way, oddly, with Tim. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
I know there's something, and I've got an idea for him with Woodstockers down the line.
Oh,
Weird preacher who tries to bring me over to the side, and people are like, Lenny, don't do it. Don't go there.
oh,
He's
that's
like
good.
he's like a charlatan.
That's good.
And he
That's
uses
good.
his wheelchair as a sympathy tool.
Mm,
He's down. He said it's okay.
that is fantastic. Oh, Tim will love that. You
I
didn't even
know.
tell me that. I love this.
Well, I
Oh
started
my
talking
God.
last weekend. But anyway, always saw something in Maggie. A spirit, a thing
Mhm.
that, was there to be tapped in a different way. And when I wrote this, I basically, wrote it with her in mind.
Yeah, we had, I think, didn't know this right away, but I want to say just over the years and some conversations, it was definitely more of a like, oh, it was like a soul connection. Like I couldn't see him for weeks, but then like if you got us sitting at a table together, and one of my favorite things I always say this about Corbin is like small talk is out the window. Like you're having a deep conversation. If you're gonna sit down with Corbin, you're not talking about the weather and like who's doing what in the family. I mean, he's a big family man, yes, but he's going to like, what are you about? Like, who are you? What are you about? Like, he hits the soul. And so I don't, I just, we had such beautiful conversations. And I remember you saying, it's like many times, I'm going to find something for us to do together. Um, as father and daughter, and I believed him, and then he wrote it himself. He didn't
Right.
just go find the project. He literally made the project, and it's beyond special. It's just so for us to get to do this at this point and explore the dynamic I think that naturally we kind of had, but in a creative sense, but in a way that we're I feel like working out other. I mean, he knows me very well. He knows my family background. He knows about my dad, and I don't even know if he meant to, but what he brought to this has actually been very healing for me in my own life and things I've gone through. So it continues to still be that type of
And it
soul like
continues because you don't know this. So I've been writing the next, I got to be ready for whatever happens next. It's like to do
yeah,
that, you better have the scripts.
yeah,
So I started writing two, three, and four. Then I had a little meeting in LA and somebody said you should do this. So I've gone back and I'm in the middle of doing that now. But the pitch of this thing was two guys who went to Woodstock and never left. What's becoming really deeper, and I had a friend I showed it to, I went to high school with, and she saw it and she says, you need to get investigate the relationship with your daughter more. And I've been right, it's that's what's coming out. I mean, I have all this stuff with Calvin, but there's something about this father-daughter thing. And I relate to that because it's my kids. We did it with Psych. I brought that note to that show with
Mhm.
James. Um, that I maybe it's back to what you say. It's like these connections are interesting to me, so I'm finding myself saying, God, I hope Maggie can come and do these because it's like, hoping you're like, I need you this weekend, I need you next weekend, I need you the weekend
I
after that.
told you I'm in. Just
I know, I
I
know, I
gotta
know,
I can hop from Toronto to New York
I,
in
I
one
know.
minute.
But I have
So
really, I just wrote a scene where you're asleep on the sofa opposite me. You've taken that sofa. And and we're like father, like daughter. It's cool. Anyway, more
we're so
questions.
similar and so different. Yeah, now you've gotten but I was thinking about it today too, about how, wow, these two, like the healing that can happen. Um, it's like it's that core relationship. For her, and it's her dad, so like everything, it's like you got to almost go back to the beginning and kind of heal that
Right.
before, so yeah. And that's what I love. We're kind of doing that. We're exploring whatever that is. That Yeah, it's a gift.
Yeah, so within the show, you have that father-daughter relationship, but also in the production, I know Corbin, you have the father-son relationship with Oliver
Right.
directing. So I'd love to have you kind of speak to that experience and also just what stands out to you about Oliver's voice as a filmmaker. And
Mm.
I'm curious about just working with your son in this capacity.
Well, I'll tell you, it started. I had a script that I was in love with, as all writers are, and he took the script with another son, Henry, who kind of worked on this. He's very smart. He's the one who screwed me all up in LA this week and said, Dad, you can't go do that in episode two. That has to happen later. And I was like, oh, okay,
Mm.
I gotta tear apart these scripts. Henry, and I remember I was standing on a balcony in Hawaii looking at Diamond Head, and I was on the phone with them, and I said, "You can't take that out. I mean, you don't understand. For an old guy, this means." He said, Oliver said, "Dad, if we're gonna do this, you're gonna be
Mm.
the actor. I'm gonna be the director, and you're gonna stay quiet and act." And I said, "Oh, I said okay, and my wife will tell you that was not like okay for until a good long walk. And then I finally yielded over. And what I realized is, first of all, Oliver's a wonderful artist, so I'm going to trust his instinct. How it's if people love how it looks. That's Oliver and Ben Mullen, who's the DP. And it's not, they're not stuck into this like structured, got to be like this and be one of my favorite shots in the entire show is when this kid comes up and goes, "You knew John Lennon?" And you see me in like half of my face. He's like squeezed me literally out of frame. And that is them being younger saying, "It's fine. Don't worry. You don't have to
Mm.
be, we're so told, get in the center of the frame, be like
Mhm,
that,
mhm.
Oh, could you stand, and Oliver just brings this, it's not messiness because that's not it, but this very independent feel. And I was talking to somebody earlier. When I say independent,
Mm.
the best I can describe it is when you're working with a minimal budget and time and all that, and your script says a bouquet of flowers, he brings her a bouquet of flowers. Sorry, dude. Hey, I forgot the flowers. Or, hey, dude, we didn't have money. But I picked these on the street on the way here. And the guy hands them to you, go, that's real. I
Mhm.
mean, how many guys show up at your door with like a bouquet of red roses, dozen of, I love you, Maggie, No, I want the guy who walks the street and like picked a rose and a whatever from
Yeah,
and snap somebody's tulip from their garden, you
yeah.
know? And that makes it indie. Oliver brings that. That he's like, don't get involved in all that big picture shit, you know?
Which I think we feel. I think it's one of the reasons like people are craving, we call it nostalgia, I think now, like shows and we're calling it indie, but I think it's a feeling.
Yeah.
I described it before, if sort of like a coming home is how it feels like in your body, but it's like when you can smell the leaves in the
Yeah.
scene, when you can like it's stuff like that I and Oliver, but I think when we say indie too, I think that there's just like this sort of awareness of what you have to work with. And he did this in like we had the most beautiful setting. We had this crazy house in Woodstock, and he brought as and this is Corbin too, and the way the chapters you sort of the way you want to tell it is like we had fall, we had these leaves, and it becomes such a part of the story. And like people, we don't notice these things as much anymore. We're not looking up as much anymore. We're looking down and like, you're so to like have that be, I think people are feeling that when they watch Woodstockers because it is something we crave. We don't even know that we're missing it. And then you see it and you're like, oh God, remember when you used to watch a movie and it was the crunching of the leaves and then like, I mean, yeah, you can think of a million of them and especially in this like indie vibe. Anyway, I can talk about that part all day because that is something I when I watch Woodstockers, I'm like, man, we captured whatever that is, he got it. Like whatever that feeling is, he captured it.
And the cool thing about that is I've been thinking about this a lot because it's the road we're gonna go. You
We
know,
hate talking about this.
nobody,
Can't you tell,
no,
Thomas? Sorry.
what's that?
I was joking. I was like, we just want to talk about it because we love it so much.
But
But
no,
keep
really
going.
quickly, like I realize people, most people live an indie life. There's a very few people that have enough
Mm,
money to do what they want when they want, fill it up. Most people are scraping by. They're scraping by on indie budgets for their life. And when you create something that's on an indie budget, it kind of feels like they feel. I think
mm.
you don't have, I'm not walking on wings of airplanes going like that doesn't exist. So I think that's part of it too. It's the necessity is the mother of invention really comes in big. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's why
And our
we,
Well,
relationships. Yeah.
yeah.
well, I'm really
Anyway,
glad.
Thomas has asked two questions. We have not shut up, Corbin. We just love it so much.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
But
Give us some true false.
I am more than happy to let y'all talk as much as you want, and just sitting back and listening to y'all is really bringing me a lot of joy here. But I want to, as you talked about setting this story in autumn, I'm glad you mentioned that because I kind of want to expand on that. I know this is, hopefully a larger or part of a much larger story, but was it always the plan to set this first chapter in autumn, or was that just kind of
Yeah,
happenstance?
I've had a very loose idea that this thing is told in four seasons: fall, winter, spring, and summer, which marks. I mean, maybe it's convenient. And I don't want to be like, oh, obvious things, but the fall is this man's kind of falling ground down. And weirdly, when I talk about Maggie, I haven't even really talked about this much. It's kind of happening to her too in her life,
Mm,
which really wasn't the original intention, but it's just kind of playing really nicely that we sort of mirror each other's tumble to. My mother was an alcoholic, and I'll tell you, until she fell to the ground and said, I'm an alcoholic. Hi,
mm,
Gene, I'm alcoholic. There's no going up for tomorrow.
mm,
So I fall is when the guy falls. Winter, I have this vision of shooting it in just stark white, freezing, cold, frozen. I remember again with my mother that when she decided to do that, you no longer have alcohol. She actually quit smoking cigarettes at the same time. You don't have the support systems of your friends who are alcoholics. You're like frozen. You're gonna have to crack the ice yourself, and or you aren't gonna get out. You'll freeze. And spring is when the first little tulips come from the ground, or a hint of, or in his case, he hears a bit of music that's
mm.
like, okay, there's hope, spring. And then summer is going to be a little bit more of the joyous celebration of the outcomes of all the stories and not necessarily perfect, by the way. No happy bow, but a place where everybody can move forward in their lives.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, I hope we
Wow.
definitely see that come to fruition. Um, and I know that with kind of the shadow of Woodstock hanging over the story. Corbin, I'm curious for you. I guess you would have been about a teenager around the time that Woodstock happened. What do you remember about that event, or do you have any memories of it during that time period?
I do. I somehow, and to this day, I don't know how we got around. I don't know how we communicated with each other. I can't remember, but I knew about Woodstock. Now, I was a couple of years younger. I would have been 15. Yeah, 15 when that happened, or just turning 15. But it was my music, it was my hair, it was my weed, it was everything. It was, I was there culturally there. So much so that when Woodstock happened, had such a thing. Like I wanted to go. I had a very good friend, and we heard in Death Valley there was going to be a West Coast version of Woodstock. Woodstock. We bought a lid. It was called of weed. Rolled 40 joints. I remember this so specifically. Rolled them together with him. Got in the car and drove to Death Valley looking for this woods. Never found it. It didn't exist. So we smoked weed all the way through Death Valley, and it ended up in a place called Furnace Creek, which is like 180 degrees, and had our own Woodstock moment. But it
Cool.
it kind
But
of
isn't that
like,
like where Coachella kind of is now? Isn't that?
no, there's Death
Oh,
Valley. It's
oh,
like Death Valley is the lowest place on earth. It's 200
oh.
feet
Okay. Okay.
below, you know.
Yeah.
But I was very influenced by it. There's a sound in there. I was talking to the women yesterday who are going to help us with music, and one of them I didn't realize is so connected to the music that we're doing, like the Ted Lucas, songs in there. Uh, and there's a sound, there's the folk sound, of course, but there's also this kind of trippy guitar that's kind of like, it's kind of this wavy, wangy 60s guitar. So I wasn't just into folky stuff, although I loved all that, but I was into the burgeoning psychedelic part that was coming out of
Mm,
it as well.
mm,
It wasn't quite,
mm.
the 60s didn't quite have the psychedelia, but it got going. And so that was my thing. And to this day, I just had to drive down to the city for a wardrobe fitting for something. And I was listening to stuff and going like, I can't even listen to current shit. I was like, put me on, and I put my Woodstocky playlist on, and
Oh.
And Maggie, do you recall the first time that you heard about Woodstock, or or what you've learned about it over time?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like I knew all about it growing up. My mom was music was such a part of my childhood, and it was never the music of the time. I mean, granted, it was the 80s. We have obviously all the Michael Jackson and Madonna and all that stuff, but my mom had such great taste in music. And so my mom would play like Carole King, and like even years later, and I'd be like, oh, this reminds me of my childhood or when I was young. And my mom's like, this reminds me when I was young, because she would play this music for us that there was always music playing. My brother went into music. It's a huge part of our lives. So Woodstock, I knew about it as much as I could. It's not that my mom or my parents went, but I knew all about it. And I know like those musicians in that time and that era. And I always said my mom would have been on like, she would have been like one of the ones like burning her bra, and like literally she was she was, if she hadn't so young like settled down and had kids, like she still has that fire in her. I mean, Corbin, you met her, but she
yeah.
was like, just she was so of that era, like, and she still has so much of that too, that I feel really lucky to have grown up around that kind of music and that kind of appreciation for a time. Sort of a, I don't know, maybe I don't know if innocence is the right word, but
It is. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Because
So
what's weird is Vietnam, we had shit happening. We had
yeah,
Vietnam,
oh yeah,
we
it was
had
real.
we
It was
had,
real.
racial injustice. You talk about what's it, Floyd, George Floyd. I mean,
Yes.
people beating on the street. I mean, it was horrible, but
Yeah.
somehow we were peaceful. We were groovy. There was something, there was love, there
Well,
was something.
music is uniting. I
Yeah,
think
right,
it's
right.
very uniting. I think it's a universal language that, it brings people together and can be healing and can be so many things. I think that was so, I think, evident of the time,
And
then,
so much
especially.
music there is about love and peace and
Yeah.
harmony, love and where now it's, I'm not going to go into lyrics, but it's like dark stuff.
Yeah.
It was light. I know for some reason kids, I call kids, 30, 20, my son, they all love that thing. They know nothing about it, but there's something there's an innocence in the music and the whatever that and what I'm finding is we have an incredible following, following. We have fans of the thing wherever we go with the festivals that are, I didn't know we're going to be the audience. And,
Mm.
I think that's one of the things. It's also why I want to make sure when I keep going further, Maggie's got a bit more in there in it just to make sure there's a connective tissue to the generation down and then beyond her. Um, there's, because she's no spring chicken, but
See, we have this. It's always been there. We keep it real. We keep it real.
Oh
we're gonna have to
man.
get some young girl in. No, I'm kidding. No.
Wow.
Oh,
That's
no. What he's gonna discover are young artists. That's what's
yeah,
gonna happen. I have
yeah.
some very cool things about 3 or 4 people that will probably come through the series that he discovers, and that's where I probably will bedrock most of the younger audience,
Mhm.
younger
Yeah.
crowd.
My dog really wanted to say hi. He just ran over here. So
That's
anyway,
cool.
he's joining.
We're happy to have him. What's his name?
Linus.
Linus.
I
Love
think
it.
he just had a dream and something scared him in the dream because he just leapt off the couch and ran to my lap. Like, what? What was that? I don't know what it was. Nothing's there.
He
Nothing is
heard my
there.
voice.
Nothing
Oh
is there.
man.
Now he's looking at the couch like, yeah, he's seeing things. He does see
Yeah.
things.
He could have seen Stephen Tobolowsky's character Calvin in his dream,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Oh,
So,
was
which
Lenny here?
Yeah.
which is which is a great segue here because Corbin, it's between the relationship between your character and Steven's character. It feels so fully realized and authentic, and I'd love to hear more about what went into establishing that friendship in really such a convincing way. And some of those early conversations you had with Steven that kind of paved the way.
Well, Stephen and I also go way back to one of a series that should have been on the air for 8 years. We did many, many years ago. But I worked with somebody the other day. I did the show Lincoln Lawyer, and I looked at Manuel, who's the lead in it. And sometimes you look in people's eyes and you just connect. I don't know. I can't
Mhm.
describe it, but you're not acting. You're just, when I'm looking at Maggie, she's saying, you're the one who's not, you're the one who's stuck. I mean, I remember looking at you when you were doing that and going, that's Alice and Lenny. I'm not thinking it's us acting or
Mm.
anything. That's just, and Steven is one of those guys that you just connect with. It's something, it's just interesting. Hey, I'm not inventing anything here. It's chemistry. It's what they always talk about, chemistry, which is so important. But he also he has this wonderful sense of humor that's not yuck yuck. Very, it's not even dry. It's just observant, and he's just a funny guy. And I knew it was important because I knew Lenny would be a bit of a depressing character, at least at the beginning of his journey. Um, I've and interestingly enough, as I move forward, and Maggie, you're hearing this, I realize I just don't want him to be for 24 chapters of this thing popping up. Hey, are you sure you want to do that, Lenny? So
Right.
I actually, in the next episode after he's dead, his brother comes and shows up and he's been loaning Calvin money for years and wants his money. And, and it's like, you've came to get what are you taking the commune? I mean,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I want to flush out him a little bit. Like one of my favorite lines I've written in this whole thing. His brother says, he had money. Our father left us money. His went in the 70s. He found out that utopia has a cost.
Mm.
And that's what, he spent all his money on this utopia
Mhm, mhm.
and he's broke. He's broke. And so I want to learn, my point being, without giving away too much, although I get so excited about it, I want to learn more about who he was, because we sort of set it up. And I didn't really know this going in until I started thinking about it. And he's got no idea what he's doing. He's just a guy who's always had a quote and a thing, and he's given a shelter to people. But Steven is with all the people in this can really do both parts of it. They can do the comedy and do the drama.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, originally this was a drama. We won best. Originally, it was a comedy, and I'm finding it to be much more of a drama that has some very human, funny elements to it. And Steven's the king of that.
Yeah.
Stephen King.
Haha.
And another member of the cast I want to highlight is, of course, Barbara Hershey, and he plays the character of Rebecca. That's Corbin, your character's ex-wife, and Maggie, your character's mother. And I
Mhm.
think Barbara is truly one of the greats. So I just love to have the two of you speak a bit to who she is as an actor and how it was to collaborate with her on this project.
I didn't work with her, I don't think, did I?
No,
No.
not really. She came in. Really feel, and I'm addressing this in future episodes, and I don't think she was happy with it. Uh, to be honest, that she sort of serves this story in my problem, but not doesn't have a fully realized part of really a realized part of who she is and what she is. And the truth is, I had another scene that we cut out, but it wouldn't have done much more to address, a woman. And Barbara's going to be great at this. A woman who has 20 years. She's taken this stuff, and I have a scene that mirrors the scene with Maggie where she basically says to Lenny, I can't do this anymore. I mean, I haven't been able to do it for 20 years. I've stayed in there and, I want to live. And he says, I want to live too. She says, no, you want to live in the past. I want to live it now. I want to live in the future. And I don't believe you're ever going to, with all the love in her heart, I don't believe you're ever going to become that. Therefore, I can't be in this relationship. Um, and and I think that's going to be heartbreaking for him to know that she's out there after 40 years. I mean, if my wife said, I can't do this anymore, find me the closest bridge. I don't know. It would be really, really hard. And I think if she, if I write it right and she can do it with all the love in her heart, but I just can't be with you. I can't do this. That's the thing I think a lot of people recognize. She also is going to recognize, I'm going to let you say it. Maggie says it, you got another 20 years, clean up your shit, go start fresh like mom, and that's what she's done. And she's not going to let me drag her back down to the problem I have, a central problem, which we'll find out more has to do with Alice's twin brother who disappeared 20 years ago, where my nightmare began.
Mm. Thomas, you're getting all the scoop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
talking it out. I don't really
You're
care
getting
because
some
it's all
you're
going to be
getting some
out.
spoilers. You're getting some scoop.
listen,
Yeah.
I love it.
I was kind of planning to ask about, how you plan to expand upon this, but I didn't even have to ask that because you've just given me all the details here. But
That's
I'm
what I
just
yeah,
said.
talking it out because
yeah,
right when we're done, I'm going back to this computer and going back in. And, I'll tell you, I'm all day like, I make note, send me a
Mm-mm.
text. I'll tell you something funny. The other day, I was doing is like, because my make note thing doesn't really work and it doesn't transcribe right. So I said, send text, Corbin Bernsen. And who? You want to send it? Corbin Bernsen. Lenny walks in and finds Alice sitting in the room. Okay. Send it? Yeah, send it. And so I get home, there's like, I, I was on a walk. There must have been 30 notes I had. And there's like nothing on my phone. And Amanda, my wife, says to me, why are you sending me all these notes about Woodstockers? I somehow my name is connected to her phone.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I was so worried. I was relieved, but I was worried, like all these ideas I had. Um,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah,
Amanda's.
they come, they're just, it's flying out now. Now that I kind of know where I'm going and I have the benefit of writing. The first one I wrote, I didn't know how she would talk. I didn't know how Stephen would talk. I didn't know how Susan Rattan would talk. I didn't know their rhythms and their things. Now I get to write to that a little bit, which is really fun. You know, yeah, I know when I write her things, Maggie's things, I can hear Maggie say,
Mm.
if I bring it in, she'll go, that's not right, and we'll clean that bit up. But I can hear the voices as I do it. A guy on the airplane yesterday said, I see that you were writing the whole time, but you were also talking to yourself.
Oh, that's so good.
I must be
That's
like,
so good.
Tommy, would you get out? I mean, because I have my head, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like out loud talking.
That's so good.
It's
That is very funny,
really
which is so
funny.
funny. That's what you do in the show, except you're talking to
Yeah, except I'm
Calvin.
talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know we've got to work on wrapping it up here soon so that you can get back to creating more Woodstockers for us. But let me just say that I hope it, takes the form that you hope it does in the coming years. And hopefully we both share many more conversations about it in the future as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
is the hope. That is
Yeah.
the hope. And I believe it. I had a dream. We were talking about dreams and stuff. I had a dream about it. So, and my dreams lately have been very telling of things. So I've started to pay more attention. But if it's true, you'll see more of Woodstockers in a
Yeah.
big way.
You'll see it. I just have to, and again, and Maggie, I can say it to you here. I just so appreciate when people, even that little story, even doing this, I realize, keep going, man, keep going, keep
Yeah.
going.
Every
It-
time I see my brother, who is honestly, I go to him for everything because he's so honest and he's so smart, and you met him. And every time I see him, he's like, that shit is good. I'm like,
by the way,
yeah.
by the way, him, family worked into it. Lenny's drink is a Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
That's what Gordon, your husband, is going to bring me as a peace offering. You know,
Oh,
you know,
I love
and
that.
as
I'm
they
from
put it
Kentucky,
down,
Thomas.
yeah.
Oh,
And we
fantastic.
just we
Well,
were all just in Lexington together, so he got to meet like a lot of my family, and we all shared some bourbon stories, and I love it. I love it so much. Great.
Now in the thing.
I'm from the
Nick will be
South as
so
well. I'm
happy.
here in North Carolina, so not too far
Okay.
from Kentucky. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They like their bourbon. We like our bourbon.
Yep. We love our barbecue here. That's a big thing if you ever come to North
Oh,
Carolina.
Oh
So,
yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Where in North Carolina are you?
I'm in the southwestern part of the state, Cleveland County. I'm kind of situated between Charlotte and Asheville. So,
Okay. I know
yeah,
Asheville. My dad lived in
yeah,
Asheville. Yeah, yeah.
beautiful, beautiful place. So,
Insanely, stunningly beautiful.
absolutely, it's the best.
Mind-blowingly beautiful. Yeah, that whole area, those mountains. Oh, it's just beautiful. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, Corbin, Maggie, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I really do appreciate your time. And
Thank
congratulations,
you.
and hopefully we connect again in the future.
You
For
definitely.
sure.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a